What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Skinny Moose.
Your boy Fat Squirrel.
And I'm Micheal Krueger.
So we're gonna do our usual, ask him some questions, and then let him talk on his career and whatever he's open to. So, what made you become a wrestler?
Um, well, wrestling was just something that was always in my life since a little kid. I grew up in a family that watched wrestling and even like went to Madison Square Garden back in like the 50s and 60s and saw Haystack Calhoun and Killer Kowalski and all those types. So it was always in my life, and from a young age, I knew like I was a huge wrestling fan. Kane kind of was the main character that got me like super into wrestling, and from that point on, I knew that's what I wanted to do with my life.
Alright, so is wrestling like your main job? Like you're 24/7?
Nah.
No.
I do DoorDash and other jobs on the side. But for a good majority of the beginning of my adult life, wrestling was all that I did do.
Yeah, I watched you on another interview. I can't remember. I got one of them on Facebook. One of the guys, and I can't remember their YouTube channel though. And you was talking about how wrestling was your thing when you was like in high school, and you was going to go to college, but it didn't work out too well.
Yeah. So I wrestled from the time I was in seventh grade up until my senior year in high school, and I was planning on going to college to wrestle, but I ended up getting kicked out of school my senior year for some stupid shit, and I lost a scholarship. It was a big mess, but basically what happened was I knocked a kid out. We were fucking around with boxing gloves in the wrestling room because we used to beat on a heavy bag for cardio.
Yeah.
And we decided to put boxing gloves on and started fucking around. And I accidentally knocked a kid out. He went to the trainer and it became a big ordeal. My school kicked me out. I lost my scholarship. And because of all of that, I went into pro wrestling instead of wrestling in college, basically. But my plan, regardless if I was going to wrestle in college or not, my plan always was when I was done with collegiate wrestling, I was going to go into pro wrestling. It just kind of kickstarted the process.
I say pro wrestling's more better. I like what y'all do in pro wrestling, and I've watched a lot of your work, and I'm a big fan of you, and I'm a big fan of Slack, and I like the IWA Mid South, and I actually have a question on that. And I was like, this man can fucking take an ass beating by Slack, which I
Yeah.
know a lot of y'all wrestlers have. But when that split your back, your back shoulders, I guess you would call it. I'm like, oh my fucking god! Now
Yeah,
that's what I was.
yeah,
Go
me
ahead,
and
my fuck.
oh no, me and Schlack. It's funny because if you go and you do the research, that was before Schlack really blew up into the character that he is now. That was one of his first. I wouldn't say it's one of his first, but that was around the time he was starting to get, and then before he was even in GCW at the time, and I remember him and I just like we kind of looked at each other. We are just like, all right, we need to do something special this night and try to fucking stick out from everybody. So let's just go balls to the wall, and that's what we did. And yeah, he has kicked the shit out of me a few times. That and then the match, I wish it was still online. It used to be on YouTube, but somebody took it off. Me and Schlack actually had a second match that not a lot of people know about at Primo Slave to the Death match. I believe it was 9. It was in whatever Primo Slave to the Death match was in 2018, and Schlack actually hit me with a weed whacker 7 times in that match, and not a lot of people have been able to see that one. I wish Primos would put out a good video for it because Jesus Christ, I mean, dude filleted me the fuck up.
It's on
Thriller,
now. That's what they
Thriller,
call
my fault. Thriller.
Yeah, it
it.
may be on the app. I'm not very familiar with the Thriller app, but whatever the Primo Slave to the Death match in 2018 was, me and Schlack tagged in the first round against Ray Basura and Amazing Maria. And we went on to the second round because the way the tournament is, you tag with somebody, and then if you win your tag match, you face off with your tag partner in the second round, and then whoever wins that goes into the finals. And me and Schlack had our second bout in that second round of that tournament, and it's pretty fucking brutal. I don't. Not to toot my own horn, but I don't know anybody else that's taken more weed whacker shots in one match other than me. And so if you guys are fans of something like that, go check that shit out.
I'm definitely
Yeah,
gonna
we'll
have
check that
to.
out. Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
the brutal shit.
I counted 7 times, and then of course 2 weeks later I end up in a deathmatch tournament where I take one more. So I took like 8 weed whacker shots in 2 weeks. It was a fun time.
God, he
Yeah.
kills us adrenaline apparently.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
adrenaline's a hell of a drug, and you know beer helps. So
Uh, yeah, liquor's my thing, but once you get that on the alcohol, you really don't feel nothing until the next morning, and then if you're really blacked out drunk, you don't even fucking know what happened.
yeah,
So I
I've
guess
been there too.
in y'all's position, obviously what the fuck you're doing with your body, but you really don't feel it right then and there.
Yeah. It's usually not until like a day after, and then you're like, why the fuck did I do this to myself? But it's part of the business. So,
What was it like being in the Crimson Cup?
oh man, well, I've talked about this in other interviews, but so I was supposed to be in the first Blood Brothers Crimson Cup, and I ended up tearing my ACL. Uh, I think it was like 6 months before the tournament, so I couldn't be a part of it. And the second one, I was very, very excited. And JD Horror actually came out of retirement to tag with me in the first round of that tournament, which was a big deal to me because he was one of my mentors and one of the people that helped me get into deathmatch wrestling. But to be honest with you, that tournament was a really shitty night in the office for me because the first round match went fine, but the second round, I didn't know I was winning the tournament, and I got told in the middle of that match, and I got told after I got concussed because Marcus Crane threw a pumpkin at my head, and it gave me the worst concussion I had ever had in my life. I love Marcus Crane to death, rest in peace, that guy is a legend. But he threw a pumpkin at my head, and I didn't get my hands up, and it hit me right in the temple, and it knocked me out fucking pretty loopy. And it gave me the worst concussion ever in my life. And then later on in the match, me and JD are trying to do something, and he's telling me, like, you're winning the tournament. You need to win this match. And I'm expecting him to put me through the table and go over and go into the finals because that's what everybody discussed beforehand. But it was supposed to be like a little surprise thing. But surprise on me, I got concussed beforehand. And it ended up making the second match, the finish, kind of shitty. And after the match, I was just kind of like totally in a what the fuck do I do? I have the worst concussion of my life, and I have to go wrestle another match. And it was me and John Wayne Murdoch in like a death match steel cage, and we got through the match, and it was fine, and it was mainly just because John Wayne Murdoch is a fucking pro, and he was able to get me through it. But to be honest with you, I don't remember a ton after my second match. So I was kind of like on autopilot all throughout the finals, and I ended up winning. But looking back on it, I would have been happier if I was more there and able to put on a better match in the finals and just a better match in my second match because I was just so fucked up. So I won the tournament. It was awesome, and like it's the highlight of my career. I haven't won a championship or anything like that ever throughout the 10 years I've been doing this. That's the only tournament I've ever won, but at the same time, it was a bittersweet victory because I felt like if I would have knew beforehand, I would have been able to put on a better show. But that's the way shit is sometimes, and it can't be perfect. But it was definitely a very interesting experience and a hectic one at that. But looking back on it, I'm still proud of it. I'm still like grateful that Crimson Crown gave me that win for the tournament. But I want to do better than that. And I hope whenever we have a Crimson Cup 4, I'm able to come in there and fucking win that shit properly. With what with what I know I can do when I'm not injured, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not even just with that whole tournament. I had just came back from an ACL surgery, and I was not taking good care of myself. I came in there pretty out of shape. But right now, since I've come back, I'm in the best shape of my fucking life. I'm in the best shape I've been in since I was 20 years old, and I hope Crimson Crown has another one of those Crimson Cups, because I'm ready to take that shit and show on a way better showing than what you guys saw in Crimson Crown 2.
So, another question is, what's up with you come crawling out to the ring? I find it pretty cool and interesting.
You know, I actually took that from Boogeyman, and then ironically, people like to compare me to Finn Balor because he does the same shit, but it's funny, like, I debuted, I think it was like 3 or 4 months before he started doing the crawling out to the ring gimmick, and then when that happened, I'm just like, fuck, now this is what I'm going to get compared to, but I've been doing that since the beginning. And I mainly took it from Boogeyman because I always thought Boogeyman looked creepy and looked cool when he fucking did it. So I figured that it also looked cooler because I was a bigger guy doing it too.
I've always liked that when you do it. It seems to fit you, like with the mask and the way you're built in your body and up here in the shoulders and shit. It just seems to fit you perfectly.
Oh, I appreciate it. I'm glad people take a liking to it because I've gotten nonstop shit since I started doing it. People calling me like, "Oh, you're trying to rip off Finn Balor," and I'm like, I'm ripping off Boogeyman. You're getting the wrong guy.
I mean, like, you see the guys like Slack and you see the guys like Tank who just walk out there.
Mm-hmm.
And, Tank's a legend, so he takes his time out there. And you got Slack who comes out there and beats the damn ring half to death. But you got you who comes out there and just crawls and wiggles your way out. And honestly, it'd be kind of something creepy, if it's a family deathmatch event. Wouldn't bring kids to a death match, but I'm the one that would and get like third row. It's kind of something that'll satisfy. Yeah, I like the way you wrestle because you can satisfy just about any type of person that watches you.
I appreciate that. Like early on in my career, it was very much interacting with kids and trying to scare them when I came out, and so I'm glad you recognize shit like that because not many do. But there's an art to it when you're trying to play a character, especially with the crowd. Like you want to get a certain type of reaction. That's always what I've been trying to do since the beginning, and like I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary. And it's crazy to think I've been doing it this long, but I'd hope to think I scared some kids along the process.
I mean, you've been in it 10 years, and you faced your fair share of legends. I gotta admit that. Like,
yeah,
JD.
I mean, JD Horror, Homeless Jimmy, me and Supreme at one point tagged in Mexico, and we faced against Damien 666, Bestia 666, and Psychosis. I've gotten the opportunity to face a lot of legends when it comes to just wrestling and just deathmatch wrestling too, and it's been an experience. I'm grateful because in the West Coast, I feel like deathmatch wrestling really got slept on up until until XPW came back recently. But we've been holding it down here for a while. Like if you go back and anybody that's subscribed to IWTV, go back and watch UEW, Underground Empire Wrestling. Go and watch 2014 to about 2018. You'll see some crazy shit. Supreme comes in and out of there. Masada at one point came in there and did our Sovereign or Slaughter tournament. BC Killer that whole time was killing it. I was in there. And there's just a lot of good like West Coast deathmatch wrestling that not a lot of people were able to see. And I felt like we started to get some momentum. And that's why people like me and BC Killer and Max X and Homeless Jimmy were all brought out to IWA in 2017. But check out some of that West Coast shit, man, because I definitely think it holds up with some of the best deathmatch wrestling that other people enjoy. And it's just like, it's one of those companies that gets slept on. UEW, Underground Empire Wrestling, we were holding it down there for a fucking long time before anybody else decided to start really taking deathmatch seriously in the West Coast.
As you said, you've been in there for 10 years. So what is your favorite deathmatch tournament to be in?
So my favorite deathmatch tournament I ever was in was probably my first, which was Sovereign of Slaughter. Me and JD Horror had a Under the Crimson Sea deathmatch, which involved fish hooks. And I was very, very nervous going in, but that whole experience was really awesome because I got to chop it up with people like Masada and people like Corporal Robinson and just guys that had been around in the business way longer than me. And it's funny, I've told this story before on other podcasts, but I'll tell it again. Masada knew I was in the fishhook death match, and he's just like, "Do you even know what the fuck you're doing?" I'm like, "Not really." and he's like, "Let me see the hooks you got." And he spent, I swear to God, at least a couple hours filing down the barbs off the fish hooks because that's the thing. Like, you can do fish hooks, but if those barbs are in, it's going to fuck you up when you take that shit out. So he helped me file down a lot of the barbs on the fish hooks we had in the match the next day. And UEW was cool. You would come down there the day before the show and just go start building gimmicks for, the deathmatch tournament and stuff like that. And Masada happened to have been there, and he helped me out a lot because I was going to fucking set up all these, gimmicks with these fish hooks that had barbs in it, and they would have tore me up because if you had seen the match with me and JD Horror, I got one stuck in my ear, and if that would have had a barb in it, it would have tore my ear probably in half. So shout out to Masada for helping me there. And that's definitely my favorite tournament memory. Even though I only went through the first round of that tournament, it was an awesome tournament. It had me, BC Killer, Homeless Jimmy, Masada, fucking Corporal Robinson, JD Horror, Carnage. It had a ton of people. I think it was an 8-man deathmatch tournament. Max X as well. And it was, from start to finish, a fucking killer tournament. Again, on IWTV if you haven't seen it.
Yes, definitely go check it out. He's in it. One of my legend favorites are in it, and that's Corporal Robertson.
Oh, yeah, dude. Corpse the man, dude. I love that guy to death.
Yeah, I don't have it written down, but I was about to ask you, how did you like working with Corporal Robertson?
I'll tell you, Corp is a really, really fucking awesome guy. I didn't get to work with him in the ring, but just him backstage, he was super just like, okay, you're a new kid doing this deathmatch shit. Here's what not to do. And he was kind of teaching me the ins and outs of how to do it. And also, you do this as your character. His big thing he was fixated on me with was my glove. And I used to do a claw hold with this glove that had nails in it and shit. And Corp was like, that's your gimmick. You need to get that over in every single match that you do. And just knowledgeable stuff. That guy was the man. Not to mention, I don't really like talking about this too much, but the truth is there was some heat going on in the West Coast deathmatch scene, and Corporal Robinson, literally, I was stuck in a situation. I was a young kid, and Corp went in there and basically took the blame for some shit I did. And he didn't need to do that, and he went up to me and was just like, I did that because you're a kid. You don't fucking need to be in the middle of this wrestling drama bullshit. Don't worry about it. Just call it a solid. I give that guy all the credit in the world for doing that to this day.
Oh, yeah. I made a post on Facebook, and a lot of people said that, he's a nice-ass guy. I never got a chance to meet him, but I got him on Facebook, and he seems pretty legit.
Yeah, dude, he's the man. And if you look at some of the shit he did back in the day with IWA and JCW and stuff, or that guy's a fucking legend, and he deserves his flowers. And I think he's one of those old school deathmatch guys that don't get enough credit. But again, came into UEW a few times and put on some hell of matches. He wrestled JD Hoare, he wrestled Masada in UEW, he wrestled Schlack in Sovereign of Slaughter 3, I believe. So if you guys ever want to see Schlack and Court fucking duke it out, go check out UEW Sovereign of Slaughter. And again, back to the UEW thing. Lots of crazy death matches a lot of people haven't seen, and it's all on IWTV.
So, who was your favorite opponent that you ever faced?
See, that's hard, but I will say probably my greatest opponent and the guy I enjoyed working with the most was Schlack, because him and I we kind of came to an agreement that we're going to go out there and beat the fuck out of each other, and I respect the hell out of him for that. Granted, he got the better of me the last couple of times, but I'm waiting for that fucking third match, because I think where I'm at in my wrestling career and where I'm at in my ability, I think we'll have our best one whenever we do decide to duke it up again. But I would say Schlack is probably my greatest opponent. And if not Schlack, I would say JD Hoare.
Oh, two. Okay, yeah, I gotta give him that. I love to see these rematches. Or
me and JD, we're long. Like, now that he is randomly fucking resurfaced from the dead, which surprised the hell out of me. Like, of course, I come back and then this motherfucker comes back. But I'm ready. I'm ready for that Schlack versus Micheal Krueger or Schlack versus JD Hoare rematch. Like, both of those are at the top of my list. I also want to chop it up with fucking Necro Butcher and fucking Masada. Like, those are two on my bucket list. By the time I'm fucking out of this goddamn business, I want to make sure I have those two matches under my belt. So,
could we get you versus Tremont?
Dude, I would love that too. You know, what's funny, and I've been pitching this to Crimson Crown for a while, but I think it would be pretty fucking cool to have me, Tremont, and Homeless Jimmy in a three-way, since we've all three won their tournament. I think that would be a hell of a three-way death match. But regardless, I've wanted to have a one-on-one with both Homeless Jimmy and Matt Tremont since the beginning of my career, and it hasn't happened yet, so I'm fucking down for both of those too.
Hell yeah.
Would you ever wrestle international, like Japan, Australia?
Absolutely. Japan is, I hope by the time, I feel like I only have a few years left, and I hope by the time I'm done, I will have the honor of wrestling in Japan, because that has been my goal since I started wrestling. A lot of people want to go to WWE and all that other shit. My goal from day one has been to wrestle in Japan at least once, and I hope by the time I'm done, I will have accomplished that. And like BJW, anywhere, I don't care where it is in Japan, but I think me doing death matches in Japan should be something that happens, and that's what I want. So yeah, I've actually wrestled in Mexico just once, but I was talking about earlier, I tagged with Max X and Supreme versus Bestia and Damien 666 and Psychosis in a like 3-on-3, I guess you would call it a death match, because we had barbed wire boards, but it was more of just like a hardcore match. And I got to wrestle there, and I'd love to go back to Mexico and wrestle again. And Australia too. Before Guido hangs it up, I would love to fucking chop it up with him. It's funny, Guido was actually the ref in some of my first death matches ever, so I think it would be cool to face him in actually a real death match now that he's been doing those for the last 8 years. So yeah, I'd love to go international. That's honestly like one of my biggest goals coming back to wrestling since I've been back since last year.
I'd like to see you and Bateman go the fuck at it, or Jordan.
Bateman would be great.
So I think you pretty much answered it, but you could always answer it again or whatever. Do you want to call anyone out?
I mean, I've been fucking singing to the goddamn heavens and hells. Schlack versus Micheal Krueger 3 needs to fucking happen.
I'll see if we can make it happen.
I mean, again, this is me out of the gimmick because I'm doing a fucking interview, but him and I both know that fucking match. People have been asking for it for years. It's a big reason why I've come back to fucking wrestling is to have Schlack versus Micheal Krueger 3. So that's the number one match I want right now. And also I want me versus Masada. I think me and Masada would fucking kill it and have a really, really, really fucking brutal balls to the wall death match that people haven't seen in years. So, Schlack and Masada are the two people that are on the top of my fucking hit list when it comes to pro wrestling. And I'm ready for it. Right now, I feel like I am at the best I've ever been in my fucking career. I am training every fucking week, and I've busted my ass to come back to fucking pro wrestling, and those are the two motherfuckers that I want.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, fucking deathmatch wrestling just in general, though, in the year 2024, I'm glad to see it thriving, and I hope I get to chop it up with some of these new guys that are up and coming. Satu Jin, I just saw he got a little tour in Japan. I'd love to chop it up with him. And even some of the newer guys like the Krueger brothers, Otis specifically, I'd like to have a hoss fight with him.
Yes.
And there's a lot of fucking guys. There's a lot of guys, and I hope I get on that radar where people are bringing me out to chop it up with some of these motherfuckers because I'm confident in my ability to put on some fucking brutal displays of violence.
That's actually one of my questions is, would you ever fight Curl?
All right, you want to talk about calling? All right. This will be the clip that maybe get clipped from this whole fucking podcast, but you want to talk about calling people out. I'm just going to say I made a post on Facebook about who you wanted to see bleed this year. And somebody commented Cruel, and Cruel commented that looks like I'm one of his reject offspring. Well, Cruel, I hate to fucking tell you, but I've been doing this since 2014 while you were Logan Creed, and you also stole my last name when you were an MLW, motherfucker. So, Mads Krueger, we know who you were who you were ripping off.
Oh,
so you could say who's abortion child. You may be 6'10". I'll still drop you on your fucking head.
Oh, shit. I never realized that he stole Michael's last name until he just fucking said something. Oh, my.
To be fair, I've heard on a podcast he wasn't given that gimmick, but I know people in MLW that used to train me, that know about me, and I guarantee you that's where that shit was stemming from. So I'm just saying, homeboy, you want to fucking see who the real monster is, we could fucking go at it.
Oh, fuck yes. Let's go. I'll share the shit in the groups. Come on.
That's a fucking shoot. Like, I've been doing this monster fucking deathmatch shit for a fucking long time. For somebody to come in here and tell me that I'm a fucking ripoff of them when they had my fucking last name in MLW, get the fuck out of here, brother.
Yeah, he's been done. Every time I've ever seen him wrestle,
and that's not to take anything away from him. He's fucking good at what he does, and I will not fucking take anything away from that. But let's be real. Who is the first person wearing the fucking mask doing this shit?
That's what I was getting at is you. You know, even when maybe in your younger years, you may not have wore a mask in high school, but ever since I've seen you wrestle and I've watched a lot of your wrestling matches, you know, I've always seen you wear your black mask.
Dude, I've been doing this gimmick since 2014. I've never had anything different. So I'm the OG fucking leather mask deathmatch wrestler that did this shit. So
honestly, Curl come out like Logan Creed, and then it was something else. And then he went,
the ML.
Yeah. So you started it.
Yeah, no, I had been doing this. He didn't come out with that shit till I think it was 2019. He came out as Mads Krueger, and the mask didn't look similar to mine then, but it was the last name. But then all of a sudden he comes out as Cruel, and I mean, it's pretty fucking similar with the fucking mouth shit. I'm just saying, we look alike. I've been around here longer than you, motherfucker. So if anybody's the bastard offspring, it's you. And we could fucking fight about it.
Let's go, boy. Go ahead, Squirrel.
Did
But
you
again,
always
respect. But before this gets clipped, respect to what he's done. I quit wrestling when he started doing this shit. But now that I'm back, you should know where your roots come from, motherfucker.
He's back and he's wanting his redemption. I respect that. And I think he's earned it.
Did you always decide to be a deathmatch wrestler, or was that your first career goal?
No, so I had started out doing lucha libre, actually. That was like the first probably 10, 15 matches I had were all on lucha shows. And eventually I fell into UEW, Underground Empire Wrestling, and after my second match, they asked me if I wanted to start doing death matches, and I was all in because I had been a fan of the art since I was a little kid. I mean, I grew up watching XPW and ECW and, Sabu and Terry Funk fucking tearing themselves up in barbed wire matches, and Supreme and Homeless Jimmy destroying themselves in fucking XPW. So I was all in. I had just never got the opportunity until that point, and then from that point on, I fell into deathmatch and hardcore wrestling, and that's mainly what I do. But I do normal matches too every now and again. That's what some people don't realize. Like I could work normal fucking shit. I can work lucha libre and all that. But death matches and hardcore wrestling is definitely where my heart is and what I enjoy doing the most.
I respect that. Now, this next question is it involves your mask. It's what's up with the mask? Like, why did you choose the mask gimmick?
So growing up, I mean, the big reason I wanted to be a wrestler is because of Kane. And So I wanted something similar but different, and I decided to pick this very difficult latex mask to work in, but after years of doing it, it became easier and easier. And the mask itself is based off of a couple of different things. The main thing is, I don't know if you guys know the band Mushroom Head, but one of the lead singers of Mushroom Head during the Beautiful Stories for Ugly Children album had a similar mask to this, and I kind of drew it out and modified a couple of things. He had like a crest on the top of the head. I took it off, replaced it with a pentagram, and then I gave it to somebody who I used to work for. His name's Chris Sanders, and he runs this effects thing called Chris FXFS, and he used to run a haunted house in Phoenix, Arizona that I worked at, and him and I had known each other for a few years, and I knew he did all custom masks and custom work and stuff, so I asked him, hey, would you do this wrestling mask for me? So he sculpted it to my face, did the whole fucking shabam, and I've had this mask that I'm wearing right now this whole time for the last 10 years. But I am looking to upgrade hopefully in the next year, because by the end of my time in wrestling, I hope I can upgrade my look a little bit. I've basically looked the same this whole time.
I'd love to see what you come out with. I mean, seems like you get in the ring and you like I tell everybody, every wrestler comes out with their own like style or whatever, and they get in the ring and they do their own thing, and I like what you have to offer, and
I appreciate it.
I like the way that you move, even for, no offense, a bigger guy. You can get in there and move like one of these fucking lightweights.
Oh, there's a few matches you'll see out there. I'll pull out some acrobatic shit every now and again, but for the most part, I like just dropping people on their fucking heads. But if you catch me on a good day where I'm feeling spry, you'll see me fucking do a little flip kick or something here and there.
Hell yeah!
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm just glad to be back. I honestly, because I had the absence from pro wrestling from February of 2009 or 2019 to March of 2023, and that whole time it was very up in the air if I was ever going to come back. But I'm glad to be back, and I'm fucking just eager to chop it up with some of this new blood in the deathmatch scene and fucking put on some fucking bangers for you motherfuckers. Like
Shit.
at the end of the day, and again this is an interview, so I'm not being Mr. fucking Micheal Krueger the monster, but at the end of the day, putting on some brutal matches that people talk about for years and years, that's what I'm in it for. And the biggest reason I've come back to pro wrestling is because after 5 years of me and Schlack having that match, every now and again, every couple of years, somebody will post it on a deathmatch group or somebody will comment, check this shit out. And that's what kept me motivated to come back. And I'm glad to be back, and I want more of those.
That's what I like. I like you because you're so fucking brutal, and you actually put death matches into motion. Death matches. What made you what happened that made you take such a long break?
So I had tore my ACL and I got really out of shape, and I actually just gained a shit ton of weight. So when I came back to wrestling in so I tore my ACL in March of 2017, and I came back to pro wrestling in August of 2018. And when I came back, I had probably put on about 60 to 80 pounds, and I was just not fucking feeling good. Granted, my matches weren't terrible, but they could have been better. And I was very disappointed because I had come back, and a big reason I put on all the weight was just because I felt like nobody was going to give a shit about me ever coming back. And then I came back and they fucking give me this tournament win, and I'm getting to wrestle Schlack right away again, and it was just like I never left, and I had felt kind of overwhelmed, especially considering I didn't take care of myself. And all that mental strain really fucked with me pretty hard. So by February of 2019, I had decided that I was going to be done. And I had this terrible, terrible match. And again, you can look it up on IWTV, but Crimson Crown, I forget what the fuck the February show was in 2019, but I had this terrible match with Terex. I just remember beforehand being like my anxiety and just being a fucking mental wreck before the match and just being like, I never want to do this shit again. So for years and years, I said I'm never gonna wrestle again, never gonna wrestle again. And I had a series of shit happen in my personal life where I lost 4 different family members in a span of like 2 months, and then my ex, who I was engaged to, left me. And at that point, I was very like, what the fuck do I do with my life? So the only thing I could think of was to come back to wrestling. At least I had like focus on that. And like with all this negative shit going on in my life, I could just fucking put something positive into that and focus on that and try to drown out all the other shit. And I did that and started training again. And then we talk about Schlack, but Schlack actually is the one who reached out to me and was like, you should come back and fucking try to work in XPW and try to work, some other shit. And once he said that I should come back, I really like took shit seriously. And from that point on, I mean, I've lost over 135 pounds since I started training again, and I'm in the best shape that I've been in since I was like 19, and I'm doing good. Like I came back, wrestled a couple matches for Crimson Crown Wrestling. I've done a couple local shows here in Arizona and Casa Grande, and I feel like I'm back and better than ever, and just ready to fucking tear some motherfuckers up and spread some blood.
Hell yeah. I'm glad to have you back.
No, I appreciate it, man.
So what's your favorite match that you've ever done?
I would say me versus Schlack, the first IWA match, probably. But if not that one, I would say me versus Max X. Fuck the World 2. It's in 2016. We had this just this crazy little hardcore match, and the match ended with me jumping off bleachers and package pile driving him through a fucking table with barbed wire on it. But I love the finish of the match because Max had never won a match up until this point. So the gimmick was I package pile drived him and he fell on top of me after. So, like, I knocked myself out doing the pile driver, and Max happened to have fallen on top of me, and that's how he got his first ever win. And I
Oh
thought
yeah.
that was always really cool, and that's always been a highlight of my career. So, yeah, me versus Schlack is probably number one, but Max X is a close number two. And if you want to check that out, it's on IWTV. It's UEW Fuck the World 2.
I'm definitely gonna have to check that out.
Have you ever worked as a tag team, or do you prefer to be a singles competitor?
To be honest with you, I love being in tag teams. I've actually, the majority of my career, I've tagged with this guy named Mike James, who's been around for years and years and years. We've tagged under this name called Sick House. And I've honestly felt like I put on some of my best matches tagging with him. We haven't been able to do it a ton, but we've had some matches in Palm Springs, California for AOW, and I really do enjoy being a tag team wrestler. The only problem is Mike doesn't like to do death matches. So if I want to do death matches, I have to be a singles competitor, but I do enjoy tag team wrestling a lot. And hopefully one of these days I can get a Sick House reunion going on. Mike James moved to Kansas now, and I'm out of Arizona, so it's a little hard to do that these days. But I hope one or two times in the future we're able to bring it back, because I thought we were always good together.
Maybe you can find you a nice tag team partner that does death matches, kind of with the mask or somebody that paints their face or something, like you and JD do a tag team together or some shit.
Me and JD have actually talked about it a few times. You may be predicting the future. I won't spoil anything yet, but I hope we're able to bring that to life at some point.
Oh yeah. How did you like working for IWA Mid South?
So I only worked the one time, but to be honest with you, a lot of people have a lot of shit to talk about Ian Rodden, but I can't be one of those guys. He treated me very well. He paid me more than I was expecting. He put me up in his house. Granted, I was sleeping on a blow-up mattress with a bunch of other wrestlers, but I thought I was going to be sleeping in the airport that night, and he was nice enough to open his home to me, and he was living with John Wayne Murdoch at the time. I just remember like going there, getting smoked out, fat as hell, which was awesome. And like even before we left for the airport, John Wayne Murdoch had bowls set up for me to smoke before I left.
Fuck yeah.
So it was honestly an awesome experience and one of my favorite wrestling experiences ever. It's funny, though. Me and Schlack have the same Ian Rodden story where he's grabbing one of his fucking somebody that was working concessions that stole a soda, and he had him G-gripped by his throat. Me and Schlack walked in at the same time, and that was our first impression. But sure as shit, this motherfucker gave us like a 24-pack to kill before our match and treated us like gold by the end of the night. So I have nothing bad to say about him.
Fuck yeah. So obviously you probably heard that Ian Rotten's coming back in April.
Is he really? I actually didn't hear that.
So he's it was a big thing back, Squirrel November, December, that Ian Rotten's coming back. And he started paying people back money that was owed to him.
I did hear about that.
So I was getting ready to ask, how do you feel about Ian Rotten now, and would you still work for him?
So Ian has never took any money out of my wallet. So yeah, I'd work for him. And people may shit on that because of what he's done to other people, but for me, I'm very like, whatever you've done for me, that's how we do business, and he's never done me dirty, so yeah, I'd happily work for him again.
I know you wear your mask. Have you ever wrestled without your mask?
Yeah, actually. Again, IWTV, UEW, I wrestled under another gimmick called Casey Albright. And it was basically this gimmick to get over this catch wrestling type of match we were trying to get through in UEW. And to be honest with you, it didn't really get over that great as far as like the match type because we didn't have that many of them. And I was mainly in all of them, other than maybe like 2 or 3. But yeah, I would come out basically rocking out to some Rammstein music, and I would suplex somebody 3 times and knock them out. And so if you ever want to check any of that out, just IWTV Casey Albright, and it'll pull all those matches up. But yeah, I used to wrestle without a mask on there, and you can also see me without my mask. I'm very open about it because of my podcast, but I have a podcast. It's a horror movie review podcast. We also do some wrestling shit every now and again, but it's called Flesh Wound Features on YouTube. If you follow that, you'll see me without my mask pretty regularly.
I'm about to go ahead and sub to it now.
Yeah, we review new horror movies, and we have interviews and stuff, and we do some wrestling. I usually try to stay out of the wrestling thing, though. It's usually the other guys, but every now and again I'll pop on there for like a dark side of the ring and just talk some shit.
That's your podcast?
Yes, sir.
So there y'all go. Go ahead and go follow the man Micheal Krueger. I'm about to do it now.
Yeah, I appreciate it, brother. Been doing and the podcast actually is also another reason why I've kind of been pushed to come back to wrestling, because I do the podcast with a few fans that used to watch me in California. That's how we all met. They used to watch me do death matches and shit at UEW, and we met through there, and we've been doing this horror movie review podcast for they've been doing it for a really long time, but I just joined around 3-4 years ago, and it's been a good time.
Oh yeah. So I looked around and I didn't see much on it, and I wanted to know, have you ever been in Deep South, or would you ever work for IWA Deep South?
It's funny, I was booked to do the Carnage Cup in 2017, but I tore my ACL and I didn't end up going. But I would gladly go and do a Carnage Cup. I mean, I kind of owe Kevin one, considering, he paid for a fucking flight for me out there, and I tore my ACL and I couldn't make it. So I would gladly work for him again if he ever booked me for one, because it is one of those tournaments where, like, it does get a bad rap, but there's been some legends that have come out of there and have done it. I mean, Matt Tremont Slack back in the day, fucking JD Horror and Matt Tremont had some of the craziest fucking death matches I've ever seen in my life. Shit. Masada too, like I'd gladly be there. Honestly, I'd love to go there, and I'd love to be able to work against Chewy Martinez, because that's another one of those guys that's on my list that I would love to fucking chop it up with.
I actually fuck with a lot of, well, not a lot of them, but I know a couple of the Deep South boys, and I can see about trying to get you over in there, and I'll say it right here on the video. I'll see about going and getting you over into Deep South, and telling one of my boys to tell the promoter Kevin. I'll see about telling that you actually said that you owe him a Carnage Cup, and see if we can't get you in there for 14.
I'm here for it. For sure.
So, what is your worst injury, or have you ever had a major one besides your ACL?
So, my ACL is probably the worst injury, and that actually happened in a match. I threw a face wash, like Nick Gage style, in the corner, and the ring was unstable, and they had the boards and the poles hooked up with chicken wiring instead of like regular fucking stakes that it should have been. So when I threw this face wash, the whole ring went boom down, and I fell on my knee, tore it to shit. And I didn't know it was tore until a few weeks later. I started to be able to walk on it more, and I went and wrestled 2 more matches. And like right when I got into the ring, like the first match I came back, like I felt it all fucked up. So that was my worst. But pain wise, I will tell you, the worst injury I've ever had. You can look up this again, IWTV. Also, it's on YouTube. But me versus Insaniac for Pledge Your Allegiance. I think it's like 2016. We had a match where he slammed me on a flaming cross. We took this big cross that was covered in barbed wire, and we set it on fire, and he gave me butterfly suplex onto it. And that was fine, but the cross never got put out, and he was supposed to hang me onto it like Raven Sandman fucking ECW style.
Yeah.
And the cross was burning so hard, the barbed wire basically, as soon as I got put on it, branded my back. And it gave me almost third-degree burns on my back that took me like it took me like a month to heal from it, and that was by far the worst pain I've ever been through. Slack could hit me fucking 7 times with a weed whacker fucking every day a week. I'll fucking take that over the almost third-degree burns on my back. So that's probably the worst injury. Third-degree burns fucking off the cross. And the worst part is you could see him put me on it, and then you see me get up because it's fucking burning my back, and you just see the skin just sizzling off. It's fucking gross.
Jesus.
Yeah, and then when I got to the back, by the time I got to the back, there was a bubble about the size of my fucking head coming off my back. And my tag partner, Mike James, who I mentioned before, he took a bottle of peroxide because he wanted to make sure it wasn't going to get infected, and he poured it on it, and it popped the bubble. I swear to God, I felt like a gallon of water just dropped off my back and just hit the floor and fucking splashed. People all grossed out, fucking getting hit by this shit on their boots. It's just like a big fucking pus bubble of fluid fucking squirting on the floor. It was like my water broke and I was pregnant. It was pretty disgusting. But.
Jesus. Go ahead, Squirrel.
You mentioned Sovereign of Slaughter, and I just watched that earlier. In Sovereign of Slaughter, what was it like when Billy Graham hit you with that fireball?
It's a funny story about the fireball. So in the video, it looks a lot better than it did live, but Billy totally missed me with the fireball, and he just spit kerosene into my eyes. And my eyes got so fucked up, dude. Like, my eyes got so fucked up after that. I had, like, burnt, like, the fluid. I don't know if it was kerosene or what fluid he used, but whatever it was, it burnt a layer through my cornea, and I had to go to an eye doctor after because I was seeing, like, a little blurry, and he's just like, yeah, your eyes are a little fucked up. They'll heal themselves, but you've totally burned through the first layer of your eye. So, like, that kind of sucked, but I'm glad it looks better on video than it did fucking live, because he totally just missed completely, because whatever fluid it was, it just didn't give that pop like it should have, and it kind of just went out, and fucking he ended up spitting a ton of it into my eyes. But I'm glad it looks good on camera at least.
So speaking about that, you also had rubbing alcohol spit in your eyes by Slack, didn't you?
Yeah, and you know that I was actually just talking about this with a buddy of mine. He was bring up that match. So him spitting it into my eyes wasn't so bad. What was bad, and you'll see it in the match, I pick him up and I slam him into the pit, and the fucking alcohol sprayed and went straight into my mouth, and you just see me go, fucking. You'll see on the video, I slam him, it hits me in the mouth, and you just see my head. Oh. But him spitting in my eyes wasn't as bad. I mean, it still sucked, but it wasn't as bad. The spear, on the other hand, that fucking blew.
So I'm assuming that you've done told us, but what is your home promotion?
Right now, I would say it's probably Crimson Crown Wrestling. It's a company that runs out of Los Angeles. It's run by Kyle Wilde and Sage Shin. That's probably my home promotion right now, but I'm hoping to add some others coming up in the next few months. Last year was an easy year. I had less than 10 matches, so I'm hoping this year I can have a lot more and fucking get my name out there more. My eyes are on XPW right now. I really want to work there. I really want to fucking chop it up with some of those big brutes that they got fucking throwing bows down there.
Oh, yeah. So, where do you see your wrestling career 5, 10, even 15 years from now?
Well, I hope I'm out by 5, 10, 15 years. I think I have a good another, unless something fucking magical happens and I get signed to some major company or I get a good deal, I'm going to be done by the time I'm 30. And I'm 20. I'm 27, about to be 28 right now. I've been doing it since I was 17. So I want to be out by 30 if nothing big is happening. And my whole purpose of being in wrestling right now is to rewrite the final chapter because I was not happy with the way I left it off. So we'll see what happens. I mean, if I can go another 10 years, I'd love to, but I'm gonna have to get paid some money to be able to be able to have the motivation to keep going. But if not anything, I have a bucket list of people I want to have matches with, and that's what I want to be remembered as. I want people just like they've remembered me and Schlack at IWA Mid South over the last. I mean, shit, that happened 2017, so we're coming on 6 years now. People are still talking about it. I want more than just that match. I want me versus Necro Butcher, me versus Masada, me versus Schlack 3. I want those matches to be talked about for years on end, and that's what I hope. If I'm not wrestling in 10 years, I hope people are still talking about the shit that I did when I was.
I'm one of the fans that want to, follow them from when they're young, because obviously to me you're still young, all the way until you get like, well, you're a legend now, but I mean like Necro's age and Tank and Shadow WX. I tell
Dude,
all of my wrestlers.
Tank too, dude. Tank is one of those motherfuckers, dude, that I think is so underrated when it comes to
Yes.
deathmatch wrestling. He's one
And
of
the
the
rep.
best. And he's one of the
Yes.
big guys that could really work too. Like, there's a lot, like, no disrespect to any of the big dudes that came before us, but Tank is one of those motherfuckers that could work some shit. And that's honestly another one of those guys I really want to wrestle before him or I am done. Because that guy's a legend and one of the best monsters in deathmatch wrestling.
I love the Tank. I love Tank. I love the Rev. I love the Rev's Squall. Fat Squirrel will tell you I am crazy over Tank.
No, I don't blame you, dude. It's a cool gimmick, and like his manager too. Like that's somebody that would fit perfectly with me if we ever ended up fucking becoming something together. So I'm with you, dude. Those guys are legends, and I'm glad the Tank is getting like another little resurgence in his career. Props to ICW for booking him the way they have been over the last few years because it's been cool to see him mixed up with some of the greats again.
I'd love to see you and Carvin of the Goat. I think you'd fit in perfectly.
Yeah, hit me up, man. I'm down.
Hell yeah. Go ahead, Squirrel.
In that same match where you got the fireball by Billy Graham, when you put the fish hooks in JD's throat, what was that like?
Scary, on a non-kayfabe level, you don't want to kill your brother, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where, like, I had never done that before, but it's pretty brilliant the way he has that spot, and he stole it from Drake Younger. Drake, back in the day, used to do the syringe through the throat, and then he would, like, take a stunner or something. There's a famous match with him and Abdullah Kobayashi that do that in Japan. So that's kind of where he got it from. But I had never seen anybody put a fish hook through somebody's neck other than JD Horror. So it was definitely nerve-wracking. And again, I can't thank Masada enough for helping me cut the barbs off, because him getting that shit out would have been really, really fucking difficult if those barbs are still on. But going through my head, I mean, I'm just like, all right, well, let me just grab this fucker and pierce this shit and hope for the best. And like my biggest thing was like, you got to grab the skin and really yank it from their neck, because you don't want to hit like an artery or anything like that, and you just want to go through the skin. So a little pulling behind the curtain, but it was nerve-wracking. But once it went in, I was like, all right, I'm good. He wanted me to stick it all the way through so it was like hanging out the other side. I just stuck it in and fucking ran away. I was like, I'm good. It's in, I'm good.
I don't fucking blame you. Like, Squirrel's I'm gonna stick a spear in Squirrel's head, and I'm like, I'm gonna stick it in, but I'm not gonna take a whole handful of skewers and be like fucking Masada or Atticus or some of y'all wrestlers. I'm like, I'm just going to take one single skewer and straight in, and you know.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the day that I have to feel the Masada skewers because
Uh,
dude,
so
I've been that's like a match I've been dreaming about since I started wrestling, and I hope it can happen eventually.
I'd like to see you take on Sakuda skiers.
Yeah,
The metal skiers that Sakuda carries around.
mm-hmm.
That'd be pretty good with figuring out how he's going to do it with the mask on, without like unrevealing you.
Yeah. Well, I
And you
mean,
know,
there's a lot of real estate here with my arms too.
well, that's true too. He does wrestle with his top half open. So, uh, do you have a gimmick weapon like Pondo has the saw bat and Slack has a bag?
Yeah, I have a glove that has rusty nails on the end of it. It's like a Freddy Krueger glove, and I fucking
Oh,
claw hold people with it. I've used it in not all my matches, but I've used it in quite a few of them, and you can see me use it. Me versus Judge Joe Dredd, I had it. Also, the match I brought up before, me versus Insaniac at Pledge Your Allegiance. You see, I have this fucking big nasty glove, and there's always a different variation of it too. I've had like variations where there's fucking razor blades on it, and I've stuck people in the head, fucking like broken scissors and shit. You just have to look through my deathmatch history with UEW, and you'll see like about 6 or 7 different versions of that thing.
that's what I thought. Like I thought you had your own little gimmick weapon, but I wanted to make sure because I like the glove thing, but I wasn't really for sure. And then, in my personal opinion, your last name, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Cougar thing, does it come from Freddy Cougar?
Oh yeah, well,
So you're right.
if you can't tell, I have a tattoo of Freddy Krueger on my arm, and
Okay, that's fucking badass.
for whatever reason, I always like wanted to have like a horror-esque name and just again, I came up with it when I was 17. So in hindsight, Micheal Krueger, maybe not the most original thing in the world, but it's what I've stuck with this whole time, and it's just kind of bringing horror characters to life, and also kind of what I do in the ring with my glove, and also I do a lot of Michael Myers-esque movements, and I do the little head tilt and stuff. So it's all stemming from horror movies.
Hell yeah.
What is your biggest accomplishment in the wrestling business so far?
I would say probably winning Crimson Crown 2, the Crimson Cup 2, even though it's, not my fondest wrestling memory, as I've explained before. That's definitely like the biggest thing I've ever won. But overall, I would say the biggest thing for me, just wrestling in general, the biggest accomplishment I've had is to stay relevant through the time that I've been gone. Again, not to toot my own horn, but it was very humbling once I quit wrestling to see people that wanted me back, and that's that's what I will stem up to my greatest accomplishment, because that's why I'm back. It's for those people that fucking were asking for it, and I hope I do you motherfuckers proud, because it's not going to last for a long time, but while it does, I'm going to do my best to make sure you guys have plenty more memories to talk about over the years.
We need to get you strapped with the belt.
I mean, I'm all for that too, dude. I've never won, it's funny, I've been doing this for 10 years now. I've never won a title belt, ever. So, I mean, I'm down for that, but at the end of the day, it's not about titles. I want fucking brutal displays of violence that people fucking talk about for years and years. That's what means the most to me.
So, what do you think your bloodiest match was? In my opinion, it would probably be the one with Slack.
Me versus Slack is probably the bloodiest I think I've ever gotten in the ring. But a close second, there's a match, me versus BC Killer, Fuck the World 3. And I got pretty fucked up in that match. My arms, like, by the end of it, were completely covered. So I would say those two. And it's funny that the BC Killer match actually happened, like, I think it was like 2 weeks before I had that match with Slack. But both of those, like, probably my bloodiest bouts for sure.
So, when you said we would see you in XPW, but would we ever see you in like ICW, Theater of Brutality, AWR, etc.?
I mean, I would AWR specifically is something I really, really want to happen because I love that roster and everybody that works there and also the people that run it. Mainly right now, AWR and XPW are what I'm looking at for the most. Granted, if I get hit up by anybody else, I'm not going to say no, but specifically XPW out of all the companies running right now, that's where I feel like I want to be because that's the company I grew up watching and the company
Yeah.
that helped me get into deathmatch wrestling. So, not to mention just all the fucking again, not to put over UEW too much. I know I've talked about it a lot, but Underground Empire Wrestling, they're like Homeless Jimmy, fucking Carnage, Andre Verdun, aka Youth Suicide, Supreme. There's a ton of XPW alumni that were a part of that company, and that's the company I started doing death matches with. And I feel like it would be my story isn't finished until I wrestle on XPW.
I'd like to see you in ICW sometime facing off with one of the legends because, Danny DeMano gets in a lot of foreign boys and a lot of legends. I mean, Rob does too, but, our ICW has always been one of those. They ran through the pandemic and they actually carried death matches. So
No doubt. And I saw that they've recently had like guys like Abdullah Kobayashi, who, in
yeah,
my opinion, is like I would say Abdullah Kobayashi belongs on the Mount Rushmore of deathmatch legends. Like that guy fucking is ridiculously entertaining and also one of those guys that's on my bucket list. So yeah, props to them for bringing all those guys in. Yeah, I'm glad to see deathmatch wrestling is booming. I mean, it's definitely booming more than it has over the last decade. I mean, maybe it's not as popular as it was back in like 2000, the early 2010s, but right now I think it's a good time to be a deathmatch wrestler, and I think it's yeah, I'm just glad to see that everybody's getting a lot of places to work. Horror Slam too. That's another one I really want to do, man. Uh,
oh, get you and Tommy Trainwreck to hook up against each other.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
Horror Slam that feels like a home for me too. So yeah, I just hope to get out there and get to work with more people outside of the West Coast because I feel like I've been in this West Coast bubble for a really long time, and I think I'd have some great matches with some people in the East Coast and in the Midwest too.
I might be able to see if I can't link you up with Obey if you know who he is.
I know who Obey is. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
I just saw him on the XPW show not that long ago.
Get you linked up with Obey. That'd be a good match.
I'm down, dude. I'm
And
definitely down.
shit, I just thought of him. He was on the tip of my tongue. I can see about you and Tommy because I'd like to see that myself, or you and Doctor Redacted.
Yeah, me and Doctor Redacted needs to fucking happen.
Yeah,
I feel like him and we've met a couple of times, and just the seeing his style of wrestling, yeah, I think him and I would fucking kill it.
you and Mo to go at it. Hoodfoot.
Oh, dude, he's one of the best big guys going right now doing this shit. So
Yes, I need to see you and Mo link up before one of y'all hang it up. We need you and Mo to fucking link up, no matter what promotion it's in. Whatever. We need you versus Mo straight up.
yeah, I'm down. I'm down, dude. I mean, he's one of those guys that's been holding it down this whole time. So like I said, now that I'm back, I'm ready. Bring them all in.
I'd like to see you go to GCW, and obviously Murdoch's there now since he left ICW. So, like,
Yeah, and me and Murdoch, like I said, we had a match for CCW. Granted, I was completely concussed through the whole thing, but I'd like to have a straight up one on one while I'm fully healthy with him because, in my opinion, John Wayne Murdoch is honestly one of the best workers. Not even just deathmatch wrestlers. He's one of the best workers going because he can get
yes,
anybody fucking over, and his matches are always highlights of the show, and Yeah, I have nothing but respect for that guy, and I'd love to chop it up with him again.
Diamond Cutter would be another good one.
Yeah, him and I had we wrestled once. It was me, him, and Casanova Valentine in a no ring in
Shit.
Tucson. But the problem is we have like no fucking footage. Like there's only clips of it. We don't have like the full match out there. It's like, of course, like the one match Casanova Valentine didn't have a fucking film crew for. No,
I
no,
haven't even seen fucking like clips of it. I ain't seen nothing of you three.
yeah, no
Yeah.
slight to Casanova, but yeah, we had a three-way down there in Tucson, Arizona. Actually, we had it at Club Congress. It's pretty funny, dude. Fucking little side note, but in the match, I slammed Casanova into a wall and I give him like a big Vader fucking avalanche, and we almost went. So the wall fucking broke out, and we almost went flying into the fucking street.
Oh,
It was they were pretty upset. We actually none of us got paid at the end of the night because I broke the wall. but
fuck.
but it was a fun experience. And yeah, it's I have a couple. I think I have like 2 or 3 clips on my Instagram, but I don't have the full match, unfortunately. I wish I could see it because it was solid.
Yes.
Me and Casanova too. Dude, that's another guy. Like another guy, I really, really want to fucking wrestle. Like in a one-on-one, especially because Casanova and I both have the amateur background too. Like just watching 2 big fucking hosses throw each other over each other's heads sounds like a good time. So I hope that happens every now. Yeah, that happens at some point.
UEW, you fought BC Killer and JD Hornlight. Was that like a rivalry between y'all three?
Yeah. So when I first came into UEW, I was a part of this team called the Resistance, and it was run by this guy named Slammin' Stu, and it was me, BC Killer, and Insaniac. And we also had Danny Monchichi Ramirez, who is in XPW now as Maga Munch. He was a part of our group, and it was us versus Cult Fiction, which was JD Horror, Sage Sin Supreme, Homeless Jimmy In and Out. That was kind of like a storyline. Is he Cult Fiction? Is he not? And Billy Graham. And we went. That was like the first major feud I had in UEW, and we ran it from the time I came in July to I think it was like February. And there was a lot of backstage shit, and it kind of fell through. But yeah, we were in a little feud, and me and BC Killer had a couple of tag matches, and that's kind of how him and I became acquainted with each other until later on when we faced off against each other.
So what is a dream death match for you?
I mean, I think as far as people I haven't wrestled, Masada,
Like I should have elaborated, my fault, but like weapons wise, like no rope death match, 200 tubes.
So I saw somebody post in the group recently an amazing idea, and I want to be one of the first people to do it. And that is you cover the ropes with pool noodles and you glue gusset plates to the ropes. And you have a gusset plates rope death match. I think that fucking sounds like something that would be brutal and disgusting and just different that nobody's done before. So that's kind of like my number one right now. It's just like a gusset plates rope death match. Another one, though, that I haven't seen done, at least I've seen like contraptions that would work for it, but I haven't seen it done well, is I want like a Saw-themed death match. Like, imagine like just a bunch of different traps you throw your opponent into. Like you slam somebody into something and then a bunch of shit comes falling down on top of them.
Deep South.
Or, I've seen Deep South do some stuff similar, but like I've always had this idea of like a chair and then somebody getting stuck in this chair and just like a bunch of shit just coming down fucking hidden. Something like that. And one thing I will say about death matches in general is I feel like we've gotten not that creative over the last few years. It's a lot of the same shit, and I think we need to like start thinking of some creative gimmicks to get it over better because I think the gimmicky deathmatch, like stuff like Marcus Crane fucking having a dry ice death match, like those things that kept it interesting, and I want more gimmick stuff like that.
So, do you think death matches have gotten more or less brutal over the years?
I think they're more brutal, but how can I explain this without being disrespectful? I feel like back in the day, it was a lot more building to spots, and now it's just a lot more brutality from start to finish. And like personally, what I grew up loving was the building to get to the spots. One match I have to put over that I recently saw that did a great job of that was Masada and Drake Younger at XPW Merry Christmas 2022.
I think so.
The whole match, they're fucking building to get to the spots. They're trying to slam each other into something, and then they get out of it. And then they go do something else, and then eventually they work back and slam each other. Like, that's the type of shit I like watching, rather than just in the first five seconds of the match, you hit somebody with a bundle of tubes. I enjoy the more theatric build to those big spots. So I would say death matches have definitely got more brutal, because there's just a lot more shit. Back in the day, a gusset plate spot would get a way bigger reaction than it does now. But also, at the same time, I don't think deathmatch wrestling is as good as it used to be, if that makes sense. It's booming.
Got less creative. More brutal, but less creative.
Yeah, exactly.
I respect that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that's not to say brutality doesn't belong in deathmatch wrestling. I'm all for that, but I would like to see things mixed up a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I feel like you can get a lot more with hitting somebody with a light tube if it doesn't happen in the first 5 seconds of the match. If you're building and you're doing wrestling and eventually you build up to that fucking big light tube spot, that's what's gonna get the reaction and people are gonna remember it more than in the first 5 seconds you threw a tube at somebody's head.
Exactly. So I don't have this written down, but how close do you come to Kentucky for a death match?
What was that?
Like, I don't have it written down, but how close do you come to Kentucky for a death match?
I mean, I'm definitely down as long as they fly me out.
I mean, like, we can't have them here in Kentucky. That's why I was asking, like, how close, like, Tennessee or maybe Illinois or some shit, because me and Squirrel would definitely love to go see you live.
Oh, dude, I mean, as long as they pay for my flight, I'm there, dude. Like, I'm willing to travel where the fuck ever. I mean, and I've done it before, and I'll do it again. And anywhere in the country, as long as my plane ticket's paid for, I'll show up and spread some blood.
Fuck yeah, let's go. So, what weapon are you not a big fan of? Which deathmatch weapon? Because I know a lot of y'all wrestlers, y'all are used to the weapons, but there's got to be one weapon that one of y'all fucking absolutely hate and can't stand being hit with.
Well, as far as being hit with, I'm not I don't really have anything specific, but there is one thing I won't do, and that's take like a flat bump on a skewer board. I've seen bad things happen way too many times to fucking ever want that for myself.
Yes.
Circa, go watch Sage get the fucking that thing this far into her. Like, after I saw that, I was like, yeah, that's probably the one thing I won't take. But other than that, I'm pretty open for everything. Heights scare me a little bit, but I could be talked into them for the right price.
Really? I wouldn't think that you would be scared of heights. Like,
yeah, it just seeing people go off balconies really scares the shit out of me. Cause
I respect that. You make so many valid points.
Well, dude, balcony for a smaller guy is one thing, but me, like, I'm 330 pounds. If I go off that fucking balcony, it's gonna basically put a crater through the floor. I'm gonna need like 10 tables to fucking break my fall, or I'm fucked. And so it's one of those things where, like, I'm down to do it, but I also, like, I've seen people jump off balconies onto one table, and I'm like, you're fucking crazy. Like, I'd never in a million years. I need at least, like, 4 or 5 of them shits to break my fucking fall.
The way that he just put himself out there, like, I'm like, but I respect that. I love how open you are with us.
Oh, 100, dude. I'm a fucking open book, dude. I spent a long time just trying to be very fucking in my shell, and, like, at this point, like, I'm on the back end of my career. I'm here to do it because I fucking love deathmatch wrestling and I love wrestling, and I'm an open book. But yeah, height shit, like, again, I'm down, but I need like 5 tables, bro. Like, I'm a big motherfucker. I don't want to put a hole in the goddamn concrete. Fucking jump off that shit, give a package pile driver, and next thing you know, my ass is like fucking 3 inches into the fucking dirt. Like, no. Shit, dude, even like doing if you haven't seen, I fucking package pile drive Max off these bleachers, and we just go through one table. Bro, I shat blood for 3 weeks, dude. My asshole, like, fucking, I don't know if I hit a barb and it just went straight up my fucking butthole or what, but, like, I straight up shat blood for fucking, like, 3 weeks after that shit. And I'm like, all right, well, if I do this any higher, I need some fucking more leeway.
Fuck! That ain't funny. I'm glad that you're all right, though. But holy.
No, I'm straight, but, like, dude, I mean, that's probably why I got hemorrhoids now. Fuck.
That ain't funny, but I'm sorry.
Oh, dude, it's pretty funny, dude.
I'm sorry.
You get hemorrhoids from giving a fucking wrong pile driver. They don't tell you about this shit in wrestling school.
Okay, go ahead, Squirrel. Ask your question.
You see a lot of wrestlers wrestle with jewelry on, like necklaces. Do you wrestle with any jewelry on?
Nah, I had thought about wearing a chain while I wrestled, but again, I got a funny fucking story for this too. I was in a match. It was 2015. It was like this tag match, and I used to come out with this chain around my neck. And it was a heavy 35-pound fucking chain. I bought it from Home Depot. I grabbed the clip, and it was like a heavy bike fucking chain. But I'd come out, and it looked like a noose. Well, somebody suplexed me while it was still on my fucking neck. And when they suplexed me, the chain whipped around and fucking hit him right in the mouth, knocked out 2 of his fucking teeth. So after that, I was like, yeah, I should probably fucking take that off.
Damn.
If you know who, this is a long shot, but there used to be this old backyard wrestling documentary from like the 90s, and there was a guy named Chaos. He's actually the guy who knocked out his fucking teeth doing that.
Yes, I've heard of Chaos. I think I've seen him wrestle a time or two. He's still going. He just hung it up not too long ago, didn't he?
Chaos, I think so, but I heard he may be coming back. I'm not really, I live in Tucson where they run, but I don't really hear much about the wrestling because I don't really wrestle out here that much, but I know he hung it up for a little bit, but I heard they may be trying to do some deathmatch tournament down here with some of the older guys, so.
Yeah, see, me and Squirrel, we're in Kentucky, and where Ian Rotten used to run out of Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Cornette actually wrote the Boxing and Sports Administration, or whatever it's called, and had death matches banned here. So,
sounds about right.
If you're working for like NWA and you hit your opponent and they start nosebleeding or whatever, the ref can see it. It has to stop, or the promotion's going to get fined, and it just leads
That
into a lot of fucking bullshit.
that happens in New York too. I don't know if you guys remember, but it was like Low Life Louis versus Nick Gage, and Louis fucking got busted open by the pizza cutter, and fucking they stopped the match. Yeah, that's unfortunate. It doesn't surprise me that Jim Cornette fucking is the stem of that though.
I
It,
cannot stand Jim. I'm like,
I'm in that realm too. I respect what the guy did for wrestling, but at the same time, the second it became too far is when he started attacking G Raver after all that bullshit. Like that shit really fucking put bad taste in my mouth.
well, the Raver thing, the death matches, and I guess he's thinking that it's still, no offense to the 50s and the 60s, because they had a lot of good fucking
Hmm.
wrestlers, but, it's a different era. Even back in the day, you had like Tommy or Terry Funk, you had fucking, Ric Flair, Dusty Rose back in the day,
Bleeding all
Sergeant
over the place.
Slaughter. You had legends that was bleeding. And now I feel like he just wants to take all wrestling's a form of art, no matter if it's deathmatch, hardcore, Japanese, regular, technical, whatever it is. But you got your fans who prefer the death matches or hardcore or whatever. And why not just accept it for the art?
I'm with you.
And I don't understand where people is like, well, deathmatch wrestling's killing the business. How
It
is that?
Well, people have been saying that though for fucking since death matches started. I mean, back in the '90s when FMW started their shit and Onita started fucking doing these crazy death match tournaments in Japan and stuff. I mean, it was killing the business back then, but guess what? The business is still here.
Exactly.
It ain't fucking dead. And there's a reason also why there's a novelty to having people like Nick Gage on primetime television doing deathmatch stuff. It's a niche thing, but it's also a niche thing that has a lot of lineage in pro wrestling that fucking nobody can take away from it. Like, if you're a deathmatch fan, just like you would be a Lucha Libre fan or a fan of European wrestling, there's so much history behind it, and regardless if you fucking think it's great or not, you can go and pick matches and show them to people, and like they're undeniable. Like, yeah, there's glass. Yeah, Masada's fucking stabbing Jun Kansai with skewers and stuff, but it's a fucking phenomenal wrestling story that you can't like disregard just because it has shit that you don't like. I think that's like
Exactly.
that's a big thing with pro wrestling just in general. I mean, look at Mick Foley, man. Like Mick Foley got shit on by people like Hulk Hogan and all types of other fucking, legendary wrestlers because of what he was doing was different than what everybody else is doing. Mick Foley decided, I'm going to go and just fucking kill my body and fucking take these disgusting bumps because guess what? It's not going to matter if dude can do fucking a 450 off the top rope. They're going to think about when I got power bombed onto fucking concrete by Vader instead. Like,
Exactly.
there's a psychology to it, and there's a reason why people like Mick Foley. Again, like, no matter how much you want to shit on deathmatch wrestling, there's people, Mick Foley, like you said, Terry Funk, Sabu, fucking legends of our business that all had their hands in deathmatch wrestling, one way or the other. And you can't take that away from them. And even new guys, like, dude, Masada, I hate to suck his dick, but, like, he is fucking one of the greatest performers that we have seen in the independent wrestling. From the time he's debuted and went to Japan and came back here, that guy has done nothing but put on fucking bangers of death matches. And anytime you see Masada on a card, it's a must-see match. And, like, you can't fucking take that away from people, man. Like, or Schlack. Like, Schlack has become a novelty to fucking, not even just deathmatch wrestling. Schlack's almost like a pop culture icon at this point with all the other fucking ins and outs he has with his bands and all this other stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Those guys, those guys are attractions because of deathmatch wrestling, and you can't disregard that. They're making money and making more money than a lot of fucking people do in our business doing regular wrestling, doing the noble thing. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Go ahead, Squirrel.
What is your entrance music and why did you choose it?
So my entrance music it's got like some clips of horror movie quotes and stuff at the beginning of it, but the song itself is "I Am Hell" by Machine Head. And I had actually, even in high school, I had an infatuation for the song just because I thought it was some fucking hardcore shit you could come out to fucking really scare somebody. And in high school, we when we would have our home meets, everybody got to come out to an entrance music. Even though it was high school wrestling, we all got our little entrance music. I always came out to "I Am Hell," and whoever I wrestled always was scared shitless because it's just like fucking all the satanic shit at the beginning, and then dun 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 dun, I am death. Fucking, it scared the
Yeah.
shit out of people. So it worked in high school, and because I decided to do a satanic monster gimmick, I was like, all right, well, I guess this would work in pro wrestling too, and I've had it since then. I have been like toying with changing my entrance music, but a lot of people just really fucking like it, so I think I'm stuck with it forever.
Fuck yeah. What legend would you like to fight? You know, you got all these legends, whether they be alive or dead. Who would you like to fight?
I mean, if I had a bucket list of alive or dead, I would love to wrestle Big Van Vader. He is probably my favorite wrestler of all time, and one of the guys I try to emulate myself with. Even though I'm about a foot shorter than him, I try to emulate a lot of what Vader's style was with his wrestling matches. Uh, so Vader would probably be my number one. My number two, though, out of everybody ever in the world, I feel like I just feel like a match with Abdullah the Butcher would have been cool. So I would say
Okay.
Vader and then Abdullah the Butcher because those are two that probably won't ever happen. You know.
I'd love to see you to hook up with fucking Brain Damage if he was still going.
Oh, dude, what funny story. You bring up Brain Damage. He's the reason why I do the package file driver.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he's the first person I ever saw do that move. Before Kevin Steen, I'm a big Kevin Steen mark too, but Brain Damage was the first guy I ever saw hit the package file driver. And the second I think it was like an IWA Mid South show my dad bought on fucking, I don't know if it was VHS or DVD at the time, but I think it was like him and Necro Butcher, and he gave Necro Butcher a fucking package pile driver on the bleachers. And I thought it was the coolest move I'd ever seen in my life. And from that point on, I knew that I wanted that to be my finisher, and that's why it is. So yeah, brain damage would have been amazing. Rest in peace, dude. That guy, again, one of the deathmatch legends that don't get enough credit.
Another good legend I'd like to see you fight was Sick Nick Mondo.
Dude, I wish Mondo still chopped it up, man. I get why he doesn't, but you want to talk about one of the most influential runs in wrestling that didn't last that long. When you look at the time he was in wrestling, I mean, it was not. He wasn't even in there for 10 years, but his style and the matches he put on transcended time and fucking inspired a generation to become fucking deathmatch wrestlers. So yeah, dude, again, him and like I think back to some of the big matches that made me want to be a deathmatch wrestler, and I Sick Nick Mondo's up there with him and Zandig and him and
Wife beater.
Wife beater, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I
mean,
I would like to talk to Sick Nick Mondo though, and just be like, hey, you know that like that the weed whacker spot. I took it 7 times. What do you think about that? He'd probably fucking just look at me and shake his head.
Wife beater would be another good one.
Oh, dude, you know who reminds me a lot of Wife Beater is Schlack. Schlack, with the how brutal that fucker is, and some of the shit he did. Like, I feel like he's the reincarnation of him. But again,
Yes.
not to put him over so much, but dude, Schlack has been doing this at such a fucking hard level for so long now. Like, it's crazy to think that 2017 was 7 fucking years ago, and since then, and even like a few years before then, Schlack has done nothing but have his foot on the fucking gas pedal. And when we first met, this guy's like, yeah, I just want to wrestle for a couple of years and, just have the 5 hardest years that any deathmatch wrestler has. And this motherfucker's on like year 9.
Oh, yeah. You got any more questions, Squirrel?
No, sir. But one legend I would like to see you fight, and rest in peace, Spider Boudreaux.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yes, the boy Spider.
That guy's a fucking legend, dude. Spider, and back when I was booked for IWA Deep South in 2017, I was hoping like I would have got to chop it up with him or John Rare. But if I ever do come back, man, come to IWA or Deep South, man, I really, really hope I can get a match with Chewy, dude. That's my boy, dude.
I like to see first my boy Brian White.
I'm not familiar with him, but I'll have to look him up, man. I'm down.
Yeah, I'll have to send you some of his work. You versus Brian White, you two would fucking destroy it. I'm really close with Brian, and I'd like to see you two go at it in a Deep South show. So,
I hope I get down to Deep South this year, dude. I'm like, fingers crossed.
Yes. If you would like to, well, I got one more question, and that's what kind of wrestler do you consider yourself? Like a groundsman, a brute, a flyer, hybrid, etc.
I mean, I don't know what you would call me. Just probably more brute than anything. I throw people over my head and stab them. I guess that's
honestly, I would say that you're a brute, but a hybrid mixed in. So that's why I asked, just because, like, you in your matches, you have your brutal moments where you're just a fucking brute. Like, I don't know who to compare you to, where you're just like, you go into the fucking mode. But also you have these hybrid moments where you can do just about any type of wrestling.
Yeah, I think that all stems back to just the way I was brought in. I mean, like I said, I started my first 10 matches were lucha libre matches, wrestling with people that didn't speak any English and doing lucha. And then, it eventually stemmed into me being able to do American style, but then death match. So yeah, I appreciate that, because I mean, I am much more than a blood and guts wrestler. I've done more regular matches than I have done death matches. Just death matches are what I'm known for.
Oh yeah. You're more than open, more than welcome to speak on your wrestling career if you would like.
Just in general, man. I stem back to just checking out some of that old West Coast deathmatch wrestling from 2015 to 18. Go on IWTV, check out UEW, check out Crimson Crown Wrestling. You could basically figure out everything you need to know about me there, and if not, there's plenty of stuff on YouTube. Me and Schlack is on YouTube.
Yes.
I'm going to have to talk to somebody about getting me versus Schlack 2 published out there somewhere. I know you guys said Primo's is on Thriller. I'm going to have to see if my show is on there with him, because I really want to have that match out for the public again, because maybe that
You and Schlack is actually on IWTV, and it's in IWA Mid-South on IWTV.
Okay, so it's on there, but there's like I said, that second match, it's elusive. I'm gonna have to figure out.
Seen it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out where Primo's put that shit up. But if I can get it out there, I'll make sure I let you guys know about it. But yeah, just check out any of that shit on IWTV. You type in my name on IWTV, all the fucking matches and shit will pop up that I was a part of over the years, and just look forward to more, because I'm like I said, I'm going to go hard for these next couple of years till the wheels fall off and see what happens. But along along that time, I plan on spreading plenty of blood and carnage throughout the pro wrestling scene. So,
Fuck yeah, I'd love to have you back on the. We'd love to have you back on the channel if you'd ever want to come back.
oh, absolutely, dude. Anytime. I love
Fuck
doing
yeah,
shit like this.
fuck yeah.
Uh,